Awaken Greatness, Unlocking the Extraordinary Within. Part 1, Taking Responsibility and Starting from Zero. Greatness rarely begins with favorable circumstances. More often than not, it begins with adversity, struggle, and the quiet decision to take responsibility. That decision to claim ownership of one's life, regardless of starting point, is the true foundation of extraordinary achievement. We live in a world where it is easy to believe that success is reserved for those born into privilege, the well-connected, the wealthy, the lucky. But history, both ancient and modern, repeatedly shows that the defining factor is not circumstances, but response. Two individuals may be born into identical hardship. One becomes bitter, the other becomes brilliant. The difference is responsibility. The myth of rescue. One of the most disempowering beliefs we can carry is the idea that someone else is supposed to save us. We look for saviors in governments, bosses, partners, or even chance events. While support systems matter, waiting for rescue is like waiting for rain in a drought. It postpones action indefinitely. The hard but liberating truth is this: nobody owes you anything. Not your employer, not your parents, not society. The moment you accept this truth, you stop waiting and start building. Responsibility does not crush you, it frees you. Responsibility as power. Taking responsibility does not mean blaming yourself for everything that happens. Life will always contain unfairness and uncontrollable events. Responsibility means asking, given what has happened, what is within my power to change? That question transforms you from victim to creator. Instead of rehearsing complaints, you begin rehearsing solutions. Instead of pointing fingers outward, you begin directing energy inward. This shift is not glamorous, but it is radical. Consider the story of countless entrepreneurs who grew up in poverty. Their hardship did not disappear, but the decision to own their response, to work longer hours, to study relentlessly, to seek mentors, to fail forward converted struggle into strength. Their environments shaped them, but responsibility propelled them. The soil of adversity. It is often in the soil of hardship that the seeds of greatness germinate. Imagine a child who must care for siblings, work odd jobs, or navigate dangerous neighborhoods. On the surface, this is deprivation. But beneath the surface, hidden skills are forming: resilience, resourcefulness, emotional intelligence, and grit. Later in life, these very skills, unrecognized at the time, become competitive advantages. The world admires self-made leaders, but rarely acknowledges that their early adversity was the training ground that made them unbreakable. This is not to romanticize suffering. Pain is still pain. But reframed through responsibility, pain becomes instruction. Adversity becomes apprenticeship. The starting line is not the finish line. Too often, we confuse where we start with where we are destined to end. Growing up in scarcity does not condemn you to scarcity forever. Struggling in school does not preclude you from becoming a scholar. Starting in an entry-level job does not prevent you from becoming an executive. Every story of greatness has a beginning that looks ordinary or even hopeless. The difference lies in whether the individual accepts responsibility for moving forward step by step. You may not control your starting line, but you absolutely influence your trajectory. Practical ways to begin from zero. Acknowledge reality without excuses. Write down exactly where you are in life, financially, emotionally, relationally, without sugarcoating and without blaming. This clarity is the raw material for change. Identify the smallest controllable step. Ask yourself, what is one thing I can improve today? It might be as small as cleaning your workspace, paying off a tiny piece of debt, or practicing a single skill. Small acts compound. Build micro-excellence. Excellence is not something you switch on in big moments. It is a muscle trained in tiny repetitions. Fold your clothes neatly. Show up on time. Speak respectfully. Every act of excellence trains your identity to believe, I am a person who does things well. Reframe hardship as training. Instead of resenting difficulty, ask, what is this teaching me? If the hardship is building resilience, resourcefulness, or courage, then it is not wasted. Declare ownership daily. Each morning, remind yourself, today belongs to me. My actions matter. I am responsible for the energy I bring. Reflection. Responsibility is not glamorous, but it is transformative. The moment you stop waiting for external rescue, you awaken internal power. The moment you stop rehearsing excuses, you begin rehearsing solutions. Greatness always starts from zero. The question is not whether your starting point is ideal. The question is whether you will take responsibility for the next step. Your life is not owed to you, it is entrusted to you. What you do with that trust is the measure of your greatness. Part 2, the discipline of thought and the power of choice. If responsibility is the foundation of greatness, then disciplined thinking is the architecture that rises upon it. Without discipline in the mind, responsibility becomes exhausting. With it, responsibility becomes empowering. Thoughts are choices, not currents. Too often we treat thoughts as if they are weather patterns, uncontrollable, unpredictable, imposed on us from the outside. But the reality is far different. While we cannot always control the first thought that enters, we absolutely control whether we entertain it. A thought is like a visitor at your door. You decide whether to welcome it in, feed it, and give it a bed, or to politely decline and shut the door. This reframing is revolutionary. It means you are not at the mercy of self-doubt, anger, or fear. You can choose what stays in your mind. That choice, repeated over days and years, shapes character, destiny, and legacy. The diet of the mind. Imagine feeding your body exclusively on fast food, processed sugar, and chemicals. Eventually, illness would be inevitable. Now imagine feeding your mind on gossip, outrage, and defeatism. The illness is not physical but emotional. Anxiety, despair, and paralysis. By contrast, a healthy diet of the mind is built on clarity, truth, encouragement, and possibility. Reading great books, surrounding yourself with inspiring people, and practicing gratitude are not luxuries. They are the nutrition of a disciplined mind. The trap of the law of attraction. There is a widespread belief that simply visualizing success will summon it. While visualization has value, it sets intention and primes motivation, it is impotent without action. The formula is not think and it will appear. The formula is vision plus disciplined thought plus consistent action equals transformation. Vision clarifies direction. Disciplined thought keeps you on course. Consistent action moves you forward. Remove any one of the three, and progress stalls. How to train the mind. Morning mindset ritual. Each morning, before checking your phone, write 3 intentional thoughts you will carry into the day. Example, I will bring focus to my work. I will treat others with dignity. I will finish one thing before starting the next. Interrupting negative spirals. The moment you catch yourself in a destructive loop, I'll never succeed, this is hopeless, pause, ask, does this thought serve my goal? If not, replace it. For instance, this is difficult, but I can take the next step. Self-talk as mentorship. Become your own mentor. When you stumble, don't berate yourself. Instead, speak as a wise guide would. Yes, you failed here, but failure is feedback. Adjust and continue. Gratitude as antidote. Gratitude redirects the mind from scarcity to sufficiency. End each day by writing 3 things you are grateful for. This discipline counteracts negativity and reorients the brain toward abundance. The compounding effect of mental discipline. One disciplined thought may seem insignificant, but repeated daily, it compounds, just like financial interest. A year of mental discipline produces resilience. A decade of mental discipline produces greatness. This compounding also works in reverse. Undisciplined thoughts accumulate into habits of cynicism, laziness, and fear. What begins as a single compromise can metastasize into a worldview that paralyzes potential. Choice is power. At its core, disciplined thinking is about reclaiming choice. Life will present difficulties, layoffs, illnesses, betrayals, setbacks. The external may be uncontrollable, but your response is always optional. Viktor Frankl, survivor of concentration camps, wrote, "Everything can be taken from a man but one thing, the last of the human freedoms to choose one's attitude in any given set of circumstances. Choice is the ultimate power. By exercising it deliberately, you reprogram not only your outlook, but your outcomes." Reflection. Responsibility answers the question, who owns my life? Disciplined thought answers the question, what story will I tell myself about it? Choose thoughts that strengthen, not weaken. Choose a mental diet that nourishes, not poisons. Choose vision plus action, not fantasy without effort. Greatness is not built by brilliance alone. It is built by the quiet, repetitive choice to think well. Every thought is a seed. Plant carelessly, and you reap weeds. Plant intentionally, and you harvest greatness. Part 3, excellence in small things. When people think of greatness, they imagine monumental achievements. Building companies, publishing books, winning championships, or changing laws. Yet almost every monumental achievement is the culmination of countless small actions, each performed with the spirit of excellence. Excellence is a habit, not an event. We often wait for a big break to demonstrate our best. We tell ourselves, when I get the promotion, then I'll work harder. Or, once I have the big stage, then I'll show my true abilities. But here's the paradox. The big stage is only offered to those who've already been practicing excellence on the small stage. Consider an employee folding clothes in a retail store. To some, this is a meaningless task. To others, it is an opportunity to build a brand of reliability. Folding carefully, aligning tags, ensuring neat stacks, these small choices communicate discipline and pride. A manager notices, opportunities follow, and eventually, greater responsibility is entrusted. Excellence is not an act you put on when the spotlight shines. It is the quiet, consistent way you handle every detail. The way you do anything is the way you do everything. This phrase encapsulates the essence of excellence. If you cut corners in private, you will cut corners in public. If you are careless in small matters, you will be careless when the stakes are higher. The inverse is also true. Those who treat small things with care naturally handle large responsibilities with competence. Excellence compounds. Like interest in a savings account, each small deposit builds credibility, trust, and opportunity. Over time, this compounding creates reputations that open doors no resume ever could. Examples of small excellence: making the bed. It may seem trivial, but starting the day with order communicates to yourself, I value precision and discipline. Admiral William McRaven once noted that making the bed is the simplest way to set the tone for success. Writing clear emails. Instead of rushing, take time to structure thoughts logically, check spelling, and convey respect. The recipient feels valued, and your reputation as a professional grows. Being fully present in conversations, looking someone in the eye, listening without interruption, and responding thoughtfully are acts of excellence in human connection. Showing up on time. Punctuality is a signal. It tells others that you honor commitments and respect their time. None of these actions require talent. They require choice. And those choices, repeated daily, set you apart. Why excellence matters more than perfection. Some resist the call to excellence because they confuse it with perfection. They imagine that excellence demands flawless performance, which feels unattainable and exhausting. But excellence and perfection are opposites. Perfection is rooted in fear of others' judgment. It paralyzes. Excellence is rooted in pride of effort. It liberates. Excellence means doing the best you can with what you have, where you are. It does not mean flawless execution. It means intentional, wholehearted effort. Excellence builds identity. Every small act of excellence is more than an action. It is an identity statement. When you fold the laundry neatly, you are telling yourself, I'm a person who finishes things well. When you speak kindly under stress, you are reinforcing, I am a person who chooses dignity over impulse. Identity, not willpower, sustains long-term greatness. Willpower fades when exhausted. Identity endures. An identity is built by the story you tell yourself, through repeated actions, practical steps to cultivate excellence. Pick one micro-excellence ritual. Choose something small, like tidying your workspace before leaving each day, and commit to doing it flawlessly. Ask the billion-dollar question. When facing any task, no matter how minor, ask, if I were being paid $1 billion to do this, how would I approach it? Then, do it that way. Track effort, not outcomes. Excellence is measured in process, not results. Each evening, rate yourself on effort 0-10. Tomorrow, aim for +1. Celebrate invisible wins. Most acts of excellence are unseen. Celebrate them anyway. Remind yourself, I'm training for greatness even when no one is watching. The invisible ROI of excellence. Excellence in small things may not be immediately rewarded, but it is always eventually recognized. Employers notice, friends notice, even strangers notice. Over time, the invisible ROI, return on investment of excellence, is trust. And trust is the currency of opportunity. When opportunities arise, leaders do not ask who has the best resume. They ask who has proven they can be trusted with responsibility. Excellence in small things is the proof they are looking for. Reflection. Excellence is not about the size of the task, but the spirit you bring to it. You may not yet be on the stage you dream of, but you are always rehearsing for it. Fold the clothes, write the email, shake the hand, make the bed. Do it with pride. Each act is a rehearsal for greatness. And one day, when the opportunity arrives, you will not need to rise to the occasion. You will simply continue the habit you built all along. Part 4, releasing anger and escaping the perfection trap. Even when responsibility is claimed and excellence is practiced, there remain two invisible chains that hold many people back: anger and perfectionism. Both masquerade as strength, both promise progress, and both ultimately sabotage greatness. The weight of anger. Anger is not inherently evil. At its best, it is an alarm system, a signal that something unjust or harmful has occurred. Anger can inspire movements, defend the vulnerable, and awaken courage. But like fire, anger is useful only when contained. Left unchecked, it burns indiscriminately, consuming the very person who carries it. Many people carry silent anger at parents who failed them, bosses who mistreated them, or systems that marginalized them. The anger feels righteous. Yet the question is not, is my anger justified? The question is my anger useful? More often than not, the answer is no. Anger consumes focus. It drains creativity. It paralyzes action. Holding on to it is like clutching hot coals. You intend to throw them at someone else, but you are the one being burned. Releasing anger is not about excusing injustice. It is about refusing to let injustice dictate the rest of your life. How to release anger. Name it clearly, journaling or speaking aloud. I am angry at because. Vague resentment keeps you stuck. Naming clarifies, extract the lesson. Ask, what does this anger reveal about what I value? Often, anger points to a violated value: fairness, loyalty, respect. Knowing this helps you act constructively. Redirect energy. Instead of pouring energy into resentment, channel it into building, creating, or advocating. Transform protest into progress. The moment you let go, energy once trapped in bitterness becomes fuel for greatness. The trap of perfection. If anger is a heavy weight, perfectionism is a velvet cage. It looks elegant, even admirable. Striving for perfection is praised by teachers, rewarded by bosses, and expected in many cultures. Yet perfectionism is a thief dressed as a friend. Why? Because perfectionism is not about standards, it is about fear. Fear of criticism, fear of rejection, fear of not being enough. Excellence asks, have I given my best with what I had? Perfection asks, will others approve? One is empowering, the other is paralyzing. The paralysis of not ready yet. Perfectionists often delay action indefinitely. They wait for the flawless plan, the perfect timing, the guarantee of success. As a result, opportunities pass, dreams expire, and talent withers unused. But greatness is never born of perfection. Greatness is born of iteration starting messy, improving steadily, and learning constantly. Think of the most successful products or projects in history. Rarely did they launch perfect. They launched good enough to test, gather feedback, and improve. The same applies to your goals. How to escape perfectionism. Redefine success. Instead of measuring success by external applause, measure it by internal effort. Did you show up fully? Did you give what you had? That is success. Set version 1 goals. Instead of aiming for flawless execution, aim for a working first version, then improve it. This mindset unlocks action. Practice public imperfection. Post the article, share the idea, present the draft, even if it isn't perfect. Exposure therapy trains you to survive criticism and grow. Replace judgment with curiosity. When results fall short, ask not, why am I so bad? But what can I learn here? The shift is subtle but life-changing. From judgment to curiosity, from perfection to progress. Why letting go is essential to greatness. Greatness is motion. Anger anchors you to the past. Perfectionism locks you in the future. Only by releasing both can you move freely in the present. When you let go of anger, you reclaim energy. When you let go of perfectionism, you reclaim action. Combined, you create a life of forward momentum, imperfect, yes, but unstoppable. A simple exercise. Each night, write 3 short lines. Today, I blamed. Sand. This blame did not serve me because tomorrow, I will instead focus on. This daily release transforms resentment into resolution. Over weeks, you will notice a lighter spirit, greater clarity, and renewed courage to act. Reflection. Anger and perfectionism appear strong, but are secretly sabotaging. They are heavy chains disguised as armor. Release the anger. Let go of the perfection trap. Embrace excellence instead of perfection. Progress instead of paralysis. Greatness does not require a flawless path. It requires a free spirit, able to move forward without chains. Your best work will never be perfect, but it will be yours. And if you continue to build, refine, and improve, it will be enough to change your life and perhaps even the world. Part 5, embracing the rule of thirds in life and work. Life is not a straight line of endless progress, nor is it a cycle of permanent decline. It is a rhythm, a dance between good days, ordinary days, and hard days. One of the most liberating frameworks for resilience is what I call the rule of thirds. 1/3 of the time, life feels inspiring. You are energized, productive, and motivated. 1/3 of the time, life feels average. You are neither soaring nor sinking. You are simply moving along. 1/3 of the time, life feels difficult. You are drained, frustrated, or discouraged. This rule is not pessimism, it is realism. And when embraced, it becomes freedom. Why the rule of thirds matters. The danger of believing that life should always feel good is that every downturn feels like failure. People panic when they hit the inevitable valleys. They assume something is wrong with them. If I were smarter, richer, or stronger, I wouldn't feel this way. But the rule of thirds reframes those valleys. Struggle is not proof that you are broken. It is proof that you are alive. Every career, every relationship, every personal journey has peaks, plateaus, and pits. When you know this, you stop wasting energy resisting reality. You begin to accept the ebb and flow. You gain resilience not because life gets easier, but because you no longer expect it to be easy. How the rule of thirds applies to growth. Think about learning a new skill. At first, progress is rapid. You are in the inspiring third. Soon, you hit a plateau where improvement slows the ordinary third. Eventually, you get frustrated by mistakes and setbacks, the difficult third. Most people quit during the difficult third, believing the struggle means they are untalented. In truth, the difficult third is the training ground. Those who endure it graduate to the next cycle of growth. This is why the rule of thirds is so powerful. It normalizes frustration as part of progress, applying the rule in work and business. Entrepreneurs live in the rule of thirds. 1/3 of ventures launch smoothly. 1/3 perform modestly, and 1/3 collapse. Employees live in the rule of thirds. Some projects are thrilling, some routine, some exhausting. Artists live in the rule of thirds. Some works are inspired, some mediocre, some disastrous. The lesson? Do not judge your entire trajectory by a single season. A terrible month does not mean a terrible life. A failed product does not mean a failed career. It is simply the current third, the danger of misinterpretation. Some people misuse the rule of thirds as an excuse for mediocrity. Why try hard if 1/3 will always be bad? But the rule does not mean effort is meaningless. It means effort is essential. Your job is to keep showing up, to bring excellence even to the ordinary third, to persevere through the difficult third, and to savor the inspiring third without clinging to it. Greatness lies not in escaping the thirds, but in navigating them with wisdom. Practical practices for living the rule of thirds. Reframe bad days. When you hit setbacks, remind yourself, this is the hard third. It's part of the cycle, not the end of the story. Celebrate neutral days. Ordinary days are underrated. They are the foundation upon which extraordinary moments are built. Appreciate them. Prepare during good days. When energy is high, use it to build systems that sustain you during downturns, habits, savings, supportive relationships. Keep a long horizon. Zoom out. A year has 4 seasons. A decade has multiple chapters. Today's difficulty is a dot in a larger picture. How the rule builds emotional stability. Imagine a professional athlete. If they believed every slump meant permanent decline, they would retire at the first losing streak. Instead, they know slumps are part of the game. This belief allows them to keep training until performance rebounds. The same is true for you. By expecting 1/3 of life to feel difficult, you stop catastrophizing. You stop saying, something must be wrong with me. You start saying, this is the valley I must walk through, and you keep moving. Reflection. The rule of thirds is not about lowering expectations. It is about anchoring them in reality. Life will always contain joy, monotony, and struggle. The goal is not to eliminate the difficult third, but to learn from it, endure it, and continue walking through it. When you stop fearing the valleys, you stop being paralyzed by them. And when you stop clinging to the peaks, you stop being destabilized when they pass. Greatness is not found in avoiding hardship. It is found in continuing the journey through all 3 thirds. Part 6, finding white space and turning ideas into action. Opportunity is rarely found in crowded places. It is discovered in gaps, spaces where needs exist, but solutions do not. These gaps are called white spaces. They are the fertile soil of innovation, the overlooked terrain where greatness often takes root. What is white space? In business, white space refers to the unmet needs of a market. It is the area competitors have ignored, customers have been underserved, or problems remain unresolved. For example, in fashion, the majority of women wear sizes above 16, yet for years, the industry catered primarily to smaller sizes. That gap was white space. When someone finally stepped in to provide stylish, respectful clothing for those women, an entire billion-dollar brand was born. White space is not confined to business. It exists in every sphere of life. In careers, it may be the skill nobody else in your department has. In communities, it may be the service no one is providing. In personal growth, it may be the strength you've neglected to cultivate. White space is where possibility hides in plain sight. How to identify white space. Listen to complaints. Every complaint is a clue. If people repeatedly express frustration, that frustration reveals an unmet need. Study competitors. Not to copy, but to observe who they are excluding. Often, entire groups of customers or audiences are left unaddressed. Observe behavior, not words. People often say one thing, but do another. True white space is revealed when behavior shows a gap between desire and reality. Look across industries. Sometimes innovation is simply borrowing an idea from one field and applying it to another. Fitness apps borrowed gamification from video games. Ride-sharing apps borrowed rating systems from e-commerce. White space is found not by dreaming in isolation, but by observing reality with fresh eyes. From idea to action. Discovery is only the first step. Many people see gaps but fail to act. They stay in the safety of ideation, trapped by fear of failure or obsession with perfection. But ideas, no matter how brilliant, are worthless without execution. Action is what separates dreamers from doers. Here's a simple framework to move from white space to tangible action. Articulate the problem in one sentence. If you cannot explain the gap clearly, you cannot fill it effectively. Design a minimum viable solution. Not a perfect product or system, just a simple version that proves the concept. Seek real feedback quickly. Share your prototype with actual users. Don't ask, do you like this? Ask, would you use this? And would you pay for this? Iterate relentlessly. Feedback is not failure, it is instruction. Each improvement brings you closer to product market fit. Tell the story. Ideas spread through narrative. Be able to tell your story in 90 seconds. The problem, the overlooked group, your unique solution, and the results so far. The courage to knock on doors. Acting on white space requires courage. It means emailing people who might ignore you, pitching ideas that might be rejected, and producing work that might be criticized. But remember, rejection is not death. Often, silence or no simply means your message hasn't yet found the right ear or the right moment. Persistence matters. Knocking on 100 doors is uncomfortable, but it only takes one yes to change your trajectory. Greatness is not about never being ignored. It is about being willing to be ignored 99 times so that on the 100th, your idea finally lands. Examples of white space thinking: Airbnb. Hotels dominated the travel industry, but no one served budget travelers seeking authentic experiences. White space. Strangers renting homes. Tesla. The auto industry focused on gas vehicles. White space. Electric cars with style and performance. YouTube creators. Traditional media-controlled storytelling. White space. Millions of individuals with cameras and ideas eager to share. Each of these examples seemed risky, even foolish, at the start. Today, they are case studies in how white space thinking changes industries, a practical exercise. Tonight, take 15 minutes to brainstorm white space in your own life. Ask, what frustrates me regularly? What frustrates people around me? What skill or service is missing in my workplace or community? What intersection of my interests could solve that gap? Write 3 ideas. Then, tomorrow, choose one and design a micro step. An email, a prototype, a conversation, a sketch. The goal is not a finished solution. The goal is to step into action. Reflection. White space is opportunity disguised as frustration. Those who complain see problems. Those who take responsibility see possibilities. And those who act create change. You may not fill every gap you see, but if you choose one and move, you will step out of the crowd of dreamers and into the ranks of doers. Greatness is not about having the best idea. It is about finding the overlooked idea and having the courage to act on it. Part 7, early failures and the lessons of real-world execution. Failure is not the opposite of success, it is the training ground for it. Every great idea, no matter how well researched, eventually collides with reality. And reality has a way of humbling us. When Emma launched her fashion brand, the first day seemed like a dream. Sales flooded in, customers responded, and the numbers skyrocketed. But within hours, the so-called dream turned into chaos. The company sold out of inventory faster than expected. Customers couldn't find their sizes. Orders went unfulfilled. Instead of celebration, it felt like disaster. That is the paradox of execution. Sometimes, success brings problems you never anticipated. Why early failures matter. They reveal blind spots. You can only plan so much. Execution exposes flaws in your systems, assumptions, and preparation. They build emotional resilience. Nothing teaches humility and grit like stumbling publicly and learning to recover. They provide priceless data. Every failure carries feedback about what the market truly wants, what processes break under pressure, and what must change to grow. Early failure is not a curse, it is tuition. It is the cost of admission to mastery, the customer's voice. One of the first lessons Emma learned was that a business is built on relationships, not transactions. When customers couldn't get their jeans, she didn't hide behind excuses. She called them directly. "Hi, I'm sorry you couldn't find your size. I'll do everything I can to fix this." Those conversations mattered more than the $1 million in first-day sales. Why? Because they built trust. Customers may forgive a product that stumbles, but they rarely forgive being ignored. The lesson: when you fail, own it quickly and communicate with sincerity. People don't expect perfection. They expect honesty and effort. The myth of overnight success. We live in a culture obsessed with instant wins, viral videos, breakout products, and tanks growth. But true success rarely happens overnight. Behind every sudden success are years, sometimes decades, of trial, error, and unseen struggle. Emma herself admitted that she didn't fully enjoy her career until 5 years ago. Before that, it was long hours, hard lessons, and countless missteps. Execution is not glamorous. It is late nights, broken systems, awkward phone calls, and back to the drawing board moments. But those years are what prepare you for the wins. The two kinds of failure. Failure from lack of effort. This is avoidable. It happens when you don't prepare, don't show up, or give up too soon. Failure from experimentation. This is valuable. It happens when you act boldly, test, and learn, even if it doesn't work out. The second kind of failure is where growth happens. The first kind teaches nothing except regret. Ask yourself, am I failing because I didn't try hard enough? Or am I failing because I dared to try something new? The power of iteration. Early failure forces iteration. Iteration is the cycle of testing, learning, and improving. It is how raw ideas mature into strong systems. Consider this mindset. Test small. Don't wait until everything is perfect. Put your idea into the world in a simple form. Learn fast. Pay attention to what breaks, what frustrates users, and what excites them. Improve relentlessly. Every cycle should make your product, service, or skill slightly better. This cycle is endless. Even billion-dollar companies still iterate daily. What changes is not the need for iteration, but your capacity to do it faster and more effectively. Separating ego from execution. One of the hardest parts of failure is separating your identity from your results. Many people collapse after a failed launch or a rejected pitch because they interpret it as, "I am a failure." But you are not your outcomes. You are the one who learns from outcomes. Think of failure as feedback, not judgment. The market is not rejecting you, it is rejecting a particular version of your idea, and that version can change. When you make this distinction, failure stops being personal and starts being useful. Practical lessons for handling early failures. Pause before reacting. Emotional reactions, anger, blame, panic, cloud your ability to learn. Step back, breathe, and observe. Document everything. Write down what went wrong, why it happened, and what you'll change. Treat failures like case studies. Communicate transparently. Don't hide your stumbles. Whether with customers, colleagues, or partners, clarity builds respect. Keep moving. Don't freeze in disappointment. Adjust and act again quickly. Momentum is medicine for discouragement. From breakdown to breakthrough, what feels like disaster in the moment often becomes the turning point in hindsight. The inventory shortage that nearly derailed Emma's launch taught her how to manage supply chains, factor relationships, and customer service. Those painful lessons became the foundation of long-term growth. Your breakdowns carry the seeds of your breakthroughs if you're willing to study them instead of hiding from them. Reflection. Early failures are not signs that you're off course. They are confirmation that you're in the game. The only people who never fail are those who never start. Remember, fail small and often. Learn deeply from each stumble. Keep moving, no matter what. In execution, failure is inevitable, but so is growth if you choose to embrace it. Part 8, building a strong foundation behind the scenes. When people look at success from the outside, they often see the glamorous part, headlines, awards, or revenue numbers. What they rarely see is the scaffolding, the quiet, uncelebrated systems and relationships that hold everything together. The truth is this: success is not built on what is seen, but on what is hidden. The invisible architecture of success. Behind every thriving business, career, or movement are unglamorous but essential foundations. Financial discipline. Knowing how money flows, not just how it is made, but how it is managed, saved, and reinvested. Operational systems. Processes that ensure consistency, quality, and reliability, even when no one is watching. Trustworthy relationships. Connections with people who may never appear in the spotlight, but whose support and wisdom make growth sustainable. When Emma reflected on what truly powered her billion-dollar company, she admitted it wasn't the celebrities, the publicity, or even the launch day sales. It was the less visible foundation, the relationships with banks, factors, vendors, and retail champions who believed in the brand. Without them, momentum would have collapsed. Why the unsexy stuff matters. It's tempting to focus on shiny opportunities. The viral post, the famous partnership, the awards ceremony. But it's the dull, repetitive work behind the scenes that sustains impact. Systems beat moments. A viral product launch means little if your operations can't keep up with demand. Relationships beat recognition. A single champion at a retail chain can open more doors than 100 articles in glossy magazines. Profit beats vanity. Many businesses chase top-line growth but ignore the bottom line. True power comes from building something profitable, not just popular. In life too, the same principle applies. It is better to quietly build habits of consistency than to chase sporadic bursts of performance. Building your own foundations. So how do you build strong foundations for your own journey, whether in business, career, or personal growth? Master the basics. Before chasing grand goals, ensure you have control over the fundamentals: budgeting, time management, and communication. Build systems, not shortcuts. Ask yourself, if I had to step away for a week, would my work survive? If not, create processes that make your output repeatable and reliable. Nurture key relationships. Identify the people whose advice, resources, or trust are critical to your journey. Invest in those relationships with honesty and reciprocity. Think long-term. Avoid the trap of sacrificing tomorrow for today's quick win. Build in ways that will still matter 5 or 10 years from now. The lesson of profitability. One of the most overlooked truths in both business and life is that sustainability beats speed. Many companies raise millions, chase growth at all costs, and then collapse because they ignored the simple math of profit. Emma chose differently. She built her company with a focus on profitability from day one, even when the industry trend was to burn cash for rapid expansion. This gave her freedom. When you are profitable, you control your destiny. When you rely solely on outside capital, you live at the mercy of investors. In personal life, the same applies. When your finances are stable, you have more choices. Freedom grows from a strong foundation. What this means for everyday life, even if you're not running a company, the principle of foundations applies to you. If you're pursuing fitness, the foundation is not the fancy equipment, but the daily routine. If you're building a career, the foundation is not the perfect resume, but the relationships you cultivate and the skills you refine daily. If you're raising a family, the foundation is not the big trips or gifts, but the consistency of presence and care. The question is not, what impressive thing can I do today? But rather, what foundation am I strengthening today that will still support me years from now? Reflection. The world applauds the spectacular, but greatness is sustained by the invisible. Build your systems, strengthen your relationships, protect your profitability, create stability. Because when storms come, and they always do, it is not the glittering surface that holds. It is the hidden foundation, and that is where true power lies. Part 9. The art of networking and pitching at the right time. Networking is often misunderstood. Many picture it as endless cocktail parties, exchanging business cards, and chasing influential connections. But true networking, the kind that shapes careers and launches opportunities, is not about collecting contacts. It is about building authentic, mutually beneficial relationships and knowing when and how to make your pitch. Rethinking networking. Most people approach networking as a transaction. What can I get from this person? That mindset creates shallow ties. Real networking is built on curiosity, generosity, and consistency. It is about creating a web of trust long before you need to rely on it. Emma's experience demonstrates this. When she started, she had no glamorous fashion contacts. Her network consisted of lighting designers, production crew, and stage builders. These weren't the people she imagined would open doors, but they did. They introduced her to clients, connected her to opportunities, and became the foundation of her first agency. Lesson: your network is not just who you want, it's who you have right now. Stop overlooking the people already around you. The power of showing up. Relationships grow from presence. Many opportunities are missed simply because people don't show up, whether to a meeting, a follow-up, or even a reply email. Consistency signals reliability, and reliability builds trust. Emma recalls hand-delivering letters to fashion houses when no one responded to her applications. Was it glamorous? No. Did it work? Eventually, yes. Persistence is its own form of networking because it proves seriousness. Ask yourself, am I waiting for opportunities to knock? Or am I putting myself in the rooms, physical or virtual, where doors can open? Pitching is storytelling. Networking may get you into the room, but pitching is what keeps you there. A common mistake is to flood a potential partner with facts, figures, and features. What truly persuades people is a compelling story. A powerful pitch answers 3 questions. What's the problem? Define it clearly and make it relatable. Why does it matter? Show the human or business cost of leaving it unsolved. What's your solution? Present your idea as the natural bridge to a better future. Emma perfected this through years of pitching brand campaigns. By the time she met with investors for her fashion brand, she wasn't just selling jeans. She was telling a story of millions of women who had been ignored by the industry and deserved to feel seen, stylish, and confident. That story resonated because it was bigger than the product. Timing is everything. Even the best pitch can fail if delivered at the wrong moment. Imagine interrupting someone at a party with a 10-minute sales speech. Wrong context, wrong time. Effective pitching respects timing. Sometimes the right move is not to dive into your idea, but to plant a seed. I'd love to share something with you when you have 5 minutes. Could we set a time? That small gesture shows respect and increases receptivity. Opportunity has rhythm. The art is discerning whether the person in front of you is open, distracted, or pressed for time, and adjusting accordingly. Courage and rejection. Fear of rejection holds many people back from pitching at all. But rejection is not the enemy, it is a filter. It guides you to refine your message, improve your offer, or redirect your energy. Emma often says, nobody is looking for you. You have to knock. That means you cannot wait to be discovered. You must be bold enough to ask, to present, to risk hearing no. Every no is data, and every attempt strengthens your ability to handle the eventual yes. Practical strategies for networking and pitching. Lead with value. Before asking, consider what you can offer: insight, encouragement, connection. Practice your story. Rehearse your pitch until it feels natural, not scripted. Aim for clarity, not complexity. Ask questions. Networking is not monologue, it is dialogue. People trust those who genuinely listen. Start small. Don't aim for the biggest names first. Practice on smaller opportunities to build confidence. Follow up thoughtfully. A short, genuine message after a conversation cements memory and goodwill. Networking in the age of AI, technology has changed networking. Today, you don't need a glamorous event to connect. You can reach out via email, LinkedIn, or even comments on someone's work. But the principle remains the same: authenticity. AI tools can help you research, draft outreach messages, or practice your pitch. But technology is not a substitute for sincerity. At the end of the day, people respond to people, not perfectly crafted but soulless messages. Reflection. Networking is about showing up with consistency. Pitching is about telling a story with clarity. Both require courage, humility, and timing. If you take nothing else, remember this. Your network starts with who is already around you. Your pitch is a story, not a sales sheet. Your courage matters more than your polish. The world does not reward silent brilliance. It rewards those who dare to speak, connect, and persist. Part 10, AI, the future, and the closing message. Every era has its breakthrough. In the past, it was electricity, then the automobile, then the internet. Today, it is artificial intelligence, AI. Just as past revolutions transformed industries, careers, and societies, AI is reshaping the present and will define the future. For anyone seeking to awaken greatness, the message is simple. Do not ignore this wave. Learn it, embrace it, and use it. Why AI matters. Emma pointed out that women missed much of the first tech boom. Engineering and coding were dominated by men, and entire generations lost the chance to lead in those industries. The result? A gender gap that still exists today. The AI boom offers a new frontier. It is not limited to coders or engineers. It touches every field business, fashion, media, health, logistics, art. If you are a creator, AI can help you scale. If you are in finance, it can help you analyze faster. If you are in education, it can personalize learning for each student. The opportunity is vast, but only for those who step forward. From fear to curiosity. Many people resist AI out of fear. It will take my job. It's too complicated. I don't want more technology in my life. But fear never builds the future. Curiosity does. Instead of asking, will AI replace me? Ask, how can AI empower me? Instead of resisting, experiment. Try small tools. Automation for repetitive tasks, writing assistance for clarity, analytics for insight. Let AI handle what drains you so you can focus on what inspires you. The ones who thrive in the AI era will not be those who know everything about it, but those who are willing to learn continuously. Practical ways to use AI. Automate repetition. Free your mind from tasks like scheduling, data entry, or transcription. Accelerate research. Use AI to gather insights faster so you can spend more time thinking strategically. Enhance creativity. AI can brainstorm, draft, or visualize, giving you a springboard for original ideas. Optimize decisions. From financial planning to marketing campaigns, AI can model outcomes and highlight blind spots. Emma even incentivized her team to adopt AI by offering bonuses for finding ways to use it in their roles. The surprising result? The accounting department, not the creative team, delivered some of the biggest breakthroughs, saving the company hundreds of thousands of dollars. Lesson: innovation often comes from unexpected places. The timeless principles still apply. AI is powerful, but it is not magic. It cannot replace vision, grit, or human connection. It cannot substitute for integrity, empathy, or responsibility. The same principles we've explored throughout this journey remain essential. Take responsibility. AI won't fix your life, you must direct it. Choose your thoughts. Technology cannot replace mindset. Strive for excellence. How you do the small things still defines how you'll use big tools. Embrace failure. Even with AI, mistakes will happen. Learn, iterate, and keep moving. Invest in relationships. Machines can process, but only humans can truly connect. AI is not the end of human relevance. It is the amplifier of it, the closing message. Across these chapters, we've traced a journey from humble beginnings to extraordinary achievements, from personal responsibility to global opportunity. The lessons are clear. Anything is possible if you combine vision with relentless effort. Your past does not define you. You can rise above circumstance without losing your roots. Excellence in small things creates momentum for big breakthroughs. Failures are not roadblocks, but stepping stones to mastery. Networking and storytelling open doors that talent alone cannot. The future belongs to the curious, especially in the age of AI. Greatness is not a destination. It is a daily practice. It is waking up and choosing to align your thoughts, actions, and habits with the person you aspire to become. It is being willing to sweat the small stuff, to fail forward, to keep showing up, and to step into white spaces where others see only emptiness. And above all, it is remembering this: you do not have to abandon who you are to become who you dream of being. You can honor your roots, carry your story, and still write a new chapter of impact and meaning. Final reflection: your greatness is not waiting in some distant future. It is already within you, waiting to be awakened. The world does not need another copy of someone else. It needs the best version of you, responsible, resilient, excellent, and unafraid to use every tool, including AI, to make your vision real. So as you close this journey, ask yourself, what white space do I see that others ignore? What small act of excellence can I commit to today? What story am I brave enough to tell? And what pitch am I ready to make? How will I let technology empower, not replace, my humanity? Awaken greatness. The world is waiting. If today's lesson spoke to you, don't let it stay as inspiration only. Choose one small action and take it today to move closer to the best version of yourself. And if you want to walk this journey with a community that strives for growth, hit subscribe to Awaken Greatness. Turn on the notification bell so you never miss a new episode. Share this video with a friend, because maybe you are the spark that awakens greatness in them too. Greatness begins with one choice. Let's choose to live greatly together.